welcome, Kalyn. Glad that you're here. And then you guys can probably be able to hear Elle back in the background. She's hanging out, drinking some milk. So I wanted Kalyn to come in as we are giving back to charity this month. So through the month of November, every time that anyone comes in for a workout here at Tally Ho, they check in and using the hashtag CFAware. And for every check-in that we get, we're sending $1 to the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation in Birmingham. And super excited about this opportunity to give back and to help someone that's directly in our community. I did want to ask, without like getting too far in, what were your thoughts briefly when we announced that we were doing cystic fibrosis as the...
I don't know. I wasn't expecting it, so it was like when you said it in class, it shocked me a little bit, but I was super excited about it. I love all the support.
And it definitely for me. So we went on our members page and we're asking people like, hey, what are some charities that you guys are familiar with or like hit home with you? And so we got several different ones, and we're gonna do this many times in the future. So this just happens to be the first one. And when you were like, hey, this is kind of been our life for the past 9 months, and this would mean a lot for me to do that. And so I have family members that have had this in the past, and he was my best friend growing up, and so that really hit home. When was she diagnosed, and like what did that look like?
So we went to her 2-week appointment, and they said it showed up on the newborn screen. It was just like one gene, but you had to have a sweat test and labs drawn to actually be diagnosed. So we went 2 weeks after, or maybe a week after that appointment. They did the sweat test, but she was too little, so it wouldn't work. And then we went back a week later, and they were like, oh, she still didn't sweat enough, so still don't know. And I was like, okay, y'all are drawing blood because I can't handle this anymore.
So this was, they got you to come back, and so this is now like 2 weeks have passed or 3 weeks have passed? What's the time frame?
She's about 3 weeks old at this point.
Yeah, but you still don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They said, like, the lady doing her sweat test was like, oh no, we didn't get enough sweat. So then I was like, y'all are drawing blood before I leave because I can't mentally take this anymore.
Yeah.
So then we draw blood, we leave, and they call us, and they're like, hey, we had enough sweat, we need you to come back. So I was like, she's positive, or they would have just said she was negative on the phone.
Yeah.
So we come back, they put us in a room for what seemed like forever, and the doctor came in and told us and started explaining everything to us.
So when they told y'all what it was, and like your nursing school background and all that, how did they put that into words, like, or how did they like prepare you for, I guess, what was to come?
So it's all kind of a blur now, but
Sure.
like when we were first told, I was super upset about it because in nursing school, all I remembered was like, you're sick most of your life, you might have a lung transplant, you might make it to 20 years old. So my husband was like trying to console me, and I was like, no, you don't know how bad it is.
Right.
So then they are like, researchers came so much further and like drew out the genes, and you have to have it, he has to have it, so both parents have to have the gene. He explained all that, and then he explained how treatment is now, and the life expectancy is so much longer than what it was 5 years ago when I was in nursing school.
Sure. Yeah. So I remember, and so his name is Trent, and he was actually adopted by another family. Not to get into that whole spill, but so he was 6 weeks older than me, and he lived back behind the scrapyard. So anytime that my mom had to go work, it was summer, I'm like, heck yeah, I'd go to work, and I'll go back to Trent's house because he had like a pool and a trampoline and like all the things. And but I remember in the mornings, every morning he would have both breathing treatments, and this was like early 90s, mid 90s, somewhere around there. So like obviously stuff has come a really, really long way since then. But I remember like the breathing treatments, and then his mom would do therapy on him, like manual, like,
Yeah.
hey, lean up on this thing, and I'm gonna hit you like here for a while, and now roll over to this other side. Like for her to be able to do that, and I think it was like 90 seconds per side, like
Yeah.
in this position, then roll over, and then this way. So we would either play video games for like the 30 minutes that it took, or we'd watch like the first 30 minutes of a movie, and then it was like, okay, now we can go play.
Yeah.
What does she do that yet, or like what does that look like?
Yeah, so we started that as soon as she was diagnosed.
Okay.
But for her, since she's so tiny, it's like, and she fights so hard now. Like she used to just pass out, but now she's so strong. It's like I have her in like a chokehold pretty much. But
So you are doing it?
yeah, she'll
manually.
do
Okay.
her inhaler, and then in the morning she does a neb of hypertonic solution,
Okay.
and then I do the chest pads. So
Okay.
hers is on the front for 2 minutes, and then roll her on her side and do it for 2 minutes, other side, and then her back.
Right.
And that's what we do in the mornings, and then at night she just does the inhaler and the pads too.
Gotcha. So, is there, as she gets older, seem like I remember, is there like a jacket thing that they put you on, and it pretty much just like
Yeah.
beats you?
There's a vest that she'll get eventually whenever
Okay.
like her chest cavity is strong enough to handle it, and that'll take place of the manual pads. And it just like beats them up pretty much.
Wow.
Makes that mucus loose.
That's intense. So how, like with all of the mucus and stuff, I guess she just has like a little bit of a cough.
She does sometimes, and one time I had to take her to the doctor for something. It wasn't a sick visit, and there was like this fresh little tiny baby, and it was like right in the middle of Corona, and she coughed, and the mom just like, and I was like, it's okay, she's not sick. It was so awkward. But sometimes she'll cough, but most of the time it's under control, and if she starts coughing, we'll just do extra therapy, and it usually clears it up.
I got you. So the mornings are, how long does all that ordeal, like between like the inhaler and the breathing stuff, how long does that usually take?
It usually takes probably about an hour.
And she's now just gets kind of mad.
Yeah, like this morning was just a complete, it was
Sorry.
a fight the whole entire time this morning. Just screaming, crying,
Just wasn't having
wiggling, like gator rolling, trying to get away from me.
So how old does she have to have before she can get the thing?
I think they said 3 years old,
Okay.
maybe. I don't really remember.
And it's in the morning kind of thing?
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. So I'm sure after you heard like, hey, this is what she has, what did the next about month look like for you?
It was just getting a routine, really, because it's like she eats. You can't do it too close to when she eats because she'll throw up. And then getting her put on enzymes because her pancreas don't really work. So her weight wasn't real great at first. So that first month was more about getting her weight to where it should be. So then it sets her up to be healthier.
Right.
So that was super stressful. But the therapy at first, it was not bad at all. She would just go to sleep. But it was just getting into that routine of we can't miss a dose of medicine, we can't miss therapy.
Yeah. And I'm sure as it just becomes part of her day that
Yeah.
it won't be so bad. But this is, hold on tight for a little bit because babies are just hard anyways,
Yeah.
and I'm sure that just adds another layer. So as far as like her life moving forward, what are some things that are really important to like keep her as healthy as possible?
So from what they told me, her weight gain is going to be one of the biggest factors in keeping her healthy. And then continuing the therapy, not missing all that, and just really setting her up to, you got to eat more fats and salts, but you got to do it in a healthy way, and you got to exercise so you can stay healthy. So that's a lot of the reason that I like to bring her here, so then it'll just be normal to her, hopefully, and we won't have to like force her to do anything
Right.
she don't want to do.
Right, yeah. And I do remember Trent when I was a kid, which I was a huge child. Like I just head and shoulders taller than everybody. But it was pretty significant because he was just smaller as a child. But it looked like I ate all of the food and he didn't get any. It was really sad. But, as far as like being a kid and still got to do all of the kid things, you
Yeah.
know, like we still swam all the time and played all the time and did all the things. So what is now life expectancy and stuff?
I
for
think
CF
it's
patients?
it's either like late 40s or 50s, I think. But there's so, like, I'm on a Facebook page, and it turns out my mom works with a doctor who has CF.
No kidding.
He just didn't tell anybody because he didn't want to like
Sure.
have to deal with the
Yeah, yeah,
questions. And I think he's older. And
Wow.
there's been some like 60-year-olds and 70-year-olds on these Facebook pages that I'm on.
Okay.
So
Cool.
it's much better than what it used to be.
Heck yeah. Well, and that's which none of us are guaranteed tomorrow,
Yeah.
obviously, but it's one of those things where if you can kind of figure out exactly, and that's for us too, like if you can figure out exactly what it is that your body needs, like, hey, I do need to cut back on the salt, maybe I do need more healthy fats, and I need to exercise, and I need to do the maintenance every day, then sky's the limit, you know. And I think that a lot of times we can get caught up with, oh, I'm like, you know, I have this thing. We all have a thing, but that doesn't mean that we can't be a doctor or
Yeah.
or do whatever it is we want to do. So that's really cool, and that's so funny that he is a doctor and just didn't tell anybody.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want your sympathy. Like,
Yeah,
I'm a person just like everybody else.
She went to ask him, was like, how much do you know about CF? And he's like, well, what actually? Why are you asking? And she was like, well, my daughter just had a daughter and she has it. And then he was like, oh, well, I have it too. And just went into all the details about
Wow. You got milk everywhere. You just needed to be in the camera too, huh?
it. Yeah.
So I wanted to ask, as far as like research and stuff, and you said that even since you got out of nursing school, like they've spent more time in research and discovered more. Tell me a little bit about like what they found and how all that's changing too.
So a lot of research is going on at UAB and Children's. And Children's is the only CF clinic in Alabama. So they're getting close to finding a cure, and her doctor's pretty sure young in her lifetime she'll have one. So there's two different things that they're researching right now, and one's like an inhaled version, and you have to do it, they're thinking monthly or either every 2 weeks. And it like attaches to the proteins and makes it to where they produce like they're supposed to instead of having the mutation. So it would pretty much be like your cure every few months. And
Right.
then the other one, I think it's going to be like an infusion or an injection or something, and it would be a complete cure. You do it one time, it attaches, and it like rewrites the DNA, so it
Whoa.
makes the right thing instead
Isn't that
of the
crazy?
mutation. And then that'll just be it. You'll be done.
Wow. So, and this is something that they're getting closer and closer to.
They're doing the DNA redoing stuff. They're doing that in I think spinal muscular dystrophy or something
Okay.
right now.
Okay.
And then in a few years they'll eventually make their way to CF with it.
Wow.
And then they've got like new drugs out. There's a new drug called Trikafta that's really great, and like it's pretty much making people like they don't have CF.
That's
But her
amazing.
genes are rare, so she won't get that one. But they're hopeful that she'll see at least one of the other two.
Wow. That's amazing. And so crazy what they can do. Like,
Yeah.
who even came up with this, like, concept to be able to rewrite your DNA like that? Anything else in the foreseeable future as far as research and development? Or, I guess, when will it go through, like, clinical trials and all that kind of stuff?
I think they're expecting maybe like 2 years before they really get deep into it. I think coronavirus kind of set them back a little bit, but they're more gung-ho about finding a cure right now. So they're putting most of their research into that instead
That's
of
awesome.
different kind of modulator drugs like they have been in the past.
That's awesome. So does she take, and we may have touched base on this a little bit ago, does she take enzymes every time before she eats?
Yeah.
What
Before
do
every
those look like?
bottle. They're just a little capsule, and when she gets older, she'll be able to swallow them. But right now, we just open them up and dump them in applesauce.
Oh, okay.
And she'll do it before every single bottle. And then when
Okay.
she gets older, she'll do it before every meal or every snack.
I gotcha. Awesome. Really, really cool. Well, that's exciting that new stuff is right on the cusp. I know it's very very good to think about,
Yeah, it definitely makes us more positive about it.
for sure. Well, thanks for being so good. You did so good. She's just back there playing, having a good time. So you've mentioned, and when we talked about before, you really didn't know a whole lot about like CF or anything like that until she was diagnosed, because you don't have anybody in your family really.
Mm-mm, we don't have anybody that we know about.
And then your
That's
husband's
why we
family.
were so shocked. We were like, because you can have elevated levels during stressful delivery, and I was in labor for 24 hours and then had to
Very
have
stressful.
a C-section. So
Very stressful.
I was like, maybe that's it.
Right.
So we had hope that it wasn't, but it shocked us.
And then your husband's family.
Yeah, nobody. His mom was adopted, so we don't really know that much about
Gotcha.
that side. But as far as we know, nobody's ever been diagnosed that we
Right.
know of.
Right. That's crazy. And yeah, like the last thing in your mind, like, I wonder, about my child here, but that this kind of thing like never really creeps in, especially when you don't know anybody
Yeah.
that's in your little group there. So, interesting. So, what are her tricks now? What's she into?
She is like all over the place, crawling. She likes to crawl up the stairs. Like, you gotta
Oh,
watch her.
yeah.
If the gate's ever down, she's
Help it.
heading up there.
Mhm.
She's getting close to walking.
Lord help. And so she's 9 months, already has her 2 little teeth down here and 4 up top, I
Yeah.
saw. I feel like my kids were like gumming everything for like ever, so that's insane. That's
She
awesome.
got them quick.
I love seeing, and we had a post yesterday from a member. Their little girl was sitting over here on the plates watching her do some back squats and stuff. One of my favorite things is to see moms and dads wheeling up here with pumpkin seed on the arm. Y'all have your gym bag over here, and you come in and ready for a workout. So you trained for a little bit before got pregnant. Took a little bit of some you time to get situated and find out what you need to do, and then you came back. How far postpartum were you when you
I
came
think I
back?
was about 3 months.
3 months postpartum. Tell me about that, because that, like, she got diagnosed, you kind of like did your thing, got in a routine, then you started back at the gym.
Yeah.
Kind of walk me through that.
So I was getting super depressed just being at home and this diagnosis. So I started walking because I had a C-section and I was still sore. I was afraid to come back at first.
Sure.
And then like walking kind of helped, but I was like, I gotta get back in the gym so I can just release all this and feel better and be around people, and it'll be better. So that's what I texted you. I was like, I'm ready to ease back into it, but I'm still kind of recovering.
Right.
So it's helped a lot.
And we took it easy for a while. You
Yeah.
came in, I'm like, all right, so maybe these first couple weeks we're going to do this.
Yeah.
And then maybe we'll add on a little bit more. But the biggest thing that I loved that you did was you were just super open. Like, hey, look, this is what I got going on. And I'm kind of scared, but I need to do something.
Yeah.
Just like help me through this journey. And you've been crushing it.
Thanks.
And I think you brought several friends with you too here lately.
My husband's finally coming, and my sister joined too.
And they're doing really well. But thank you for your time here. We are just super excited to be able to help in any way. And she looks like she's about to go to sleep now. But thanks for taking time to chat with us for a little bit. And we'll see you in class.